Welcome to the Annie Jennings PR teleseminar series. My guest today is Todd Thomas, and of course this is Annie Jennings speaking. Todd Thomas holds a PhD in Human Communications, a Master's in Educational Psychology, and a Master's in Interpersonal Communication. He was a professor of organizational psychology at North Carolina State University and is now the founder of Impact Consulting and Development and the global leadership columnist for TheStreet.com. Todd Thomas is an international speaker providing seminars and presentations in over 20 countries, enabling leaders to create change for impact. He is a member of the National Speakers Association, the International Federation of Speakers, and the Les Brown Platinum Speakers Network. I want to welcome Todd Thomas to our teleseminar series. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks, Annie. It's great to be here.
It's my pleasure to have you as part of our series because you're one of our successful clients, and we have so many of them. And I just love the way that you conduct yourself in the business world. You are one of our favorites, I must tell you, in that we can always count on you to be there for us. Very quick turnaround. As we talk today, you'll probably go into how quickly your ability to turn around is with the media, how quickly you need to come up with talking points that make sense given the news events of the day and the way the media would like to position you within the segment. These are all keys to success. And Todd, I have to say, I think you've got the number one spot in being able to turn around information extremely quickly for us.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And it's certainly something I try to do.
Yes, exactly. And you're very good at it, too. And notice the more you do it, the more you can do it. The more you follow stories, the more your opinions just start to come very quickly for you, so that the more you're asked to contribute, the faster and with more quality content you're able to do so.
Yeah, and one interesting thing, Annie, is that prior to starting to work with you folks, I had a little bit of media here and there. Of course, I was a speaker, so I had those opportunities, but really the ability to turn things around so that it's beneficial to you as well as me, it was kind of a learned trait that was learned along the way with some coaching from your folks.
Right, of course.
And it's been great. In fact, the one thing I would say, if I could, for the listeners, is I think what gets in the way sometimes is that people get hung up on format.
Right.
You get the phone call and it says, say, hey, Fox News is looking for this. Send me some speaking points. And for some reason, that sounds like it should be, 5 bullet points, 12-point font, whatever. And, your folks are just really wonderful to work with. And one of the first times that I responded, I just threw together a narrative paragraph. I sent it and said, tell me, if this is close or if I need to do it another way. And, they took what I sent, put it in the format they needed, and 20 minutes later were calling me with a Fox News interview.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's exactly right. I'm willing to jot down your talking points over the phone. If I called you or if any of our publicists called you and you said, I can't get to anywhere where I can actually prepare these, we'll say, tell them to us, talk them to us. Because all we need to know is your positioning and your point of view. Because we're always booking our experts in their point of view. Obviously, that's fair to them. Because we never want you to do any kind of media that where you're taking a point of view that's not truly heartfelt by you.
Right.
So we're able to take anything you send us. We don't care about format. We don't care about font. I don't care about anything other than I get your point of view. Now, one thing about our staff is we're all very fully engaged in the news of the day. So you can just give me a couple of bullet points and I'll know what you want to say. And after a while, we get to know you so well, we can write up some amazing segments for you. You don't even know we're writing them. In fact, what I have here is I pulled a list of our last 6 segment ideas for you. And I'm not sure if you've even seen these, but Sarah probably sent you a story, and the story link's probably in here in one of our releases. And she said something about, can you comment on Chrysler? And what that turned into, what you don't know,
right,
is it turned into this subject heading. What killed Chrysler? Leadership PhD, who worked is at Daimler Chrysler for 10 years, tells. That was the headline that got you all those bookings. And you gave us your talking points. They're all listed here. They're all expanded to meet the profile of the show. We even have a nice quote from you for this one.
And I think the result was I ended up with maybe 12 radio interviews, 12 to 15 radio interviews, and a radio tour that went from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yes, exactly. And that was hosted by a major news outlet who had chosen Todd to be their expert that day talking about this. So as soon as it hit the airwaves, probably in the morning, you were already out there, being pitched all over. That's how quickly the turnaround. Here's another good one. Now, you'll see this is more general, but you can see we're talking about things the industry is talking about. Another press release we did for you is just the headlines I'll read. Leadership PhD, Breakthrough Biz Strategy in a Socially Responsible Era.
Right.
Now, this was, and even though that seems rather generic, that pulled a ton of media for you, too, right? Because everybody's talking about we need to be socially responsible.
Now, can I just comment about about how somebody uses this in what they're trying to do? Because that's an extremely good example.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
This was with a major a major electronic media, a major magazine. I think the subscribers to this was around 400,000 or something, some ridiculously high number. And in the process, the written ones tend to take, you have a little bit of time to put them together. So what I did, because this was an area I worked in, was I wrote a special report, maybe 10 pages with some research and some ideas in it, wrote the special report, provided the article for the magazine, but also said, hey, I've got this special report as a way to bring people to my website. And they had no problem. They printed the article, which by itself was quite well done. I mean, they did some nice stuff to it. But then at the bottom, they included a live link to my site to download the special report. And I don't think I told you this when I was talking to you, but I came close, I guess, not quite, but nearly doubling the number of subscribers to my weekly newsletter, and that now have become warm contacts to me solely because this magazine used my special report as a link. And my thought process was, I'll offer it. If they don't take it, I've got a great media hit. If they do take it, then it's a wonderful thing. It's
enhanced value. It's really driving people back to your strategy, which we call now a simple circle back strategy. A way you can invite readers, listeners, viewers to come back to your site, to become part of your community. You see how non-threatening that is? We're not saying, come back to the site and give me all your money.
Right.
No. I mean, that's like an old-fashioned strategy. Yeah, so it's really wonderful. The different types of media available for people right now, we have radio, TV, print, and internet, have such huge deliverables in terms of building yourself up as a national expert, a thought leader in your field, somebody who gets hired, somebody who gets the big deals, the big consulting deals, the big speaking gigs. This is how you position yourself. So I know that when you started with us, we started with an article in a very well-respected magazine, and this went out to CEOs and C-suite members, and that was probably one of our early placements with you. Right. And that set the stage nicely, and it actually targeted a market that was actually positioned and ready to hire you as well. Right. So this was an article placement, and as we know, when you create an article, many times they do mention your website. They give you a little bio section, one of the benefits of this. The bio section allows you to direct people on how they can come into your community or contact you. Remember, all kinds of people reading this are in various forms of interest. Some may want to trigger hire you right now. Let's do it. Others may want to say, let me join this community, get to know them a little bit. You would be surprised how many people are looking for top experts to follow, that is to understand their work, understand their positioning, all because down the line they want to hire them, but they have to do the due diligence that's going to allow them to back up their decision. So they enter into your community and they just follow you for as long as it takes and until the opportunity arises for them to say, you know what, Todd, I'd like to have you come speak to my company.
And the interesting thing about PR in general is that I think you have to understand that a large part of the purpose is exactly what you said. And then you start getting very strange emails and phone calls. I had one just recently, and it took me maybe 5 minutes to figure out that what they were referring to was a interview that I did maybe 7-8 months ago. You start you have to remember that you're out there all over the place. And as I was getting ready to call you for this conversation, one sort of funny thing that occurred to me had to do with search engine optimization.
Right.
And it used to be that this poor dentist by the name of Dr. Todd Thomas took the first page of a Google search. If you were looking for me, you found me after this dentist. And it was kind of a funny sort of thing to me. It's just, I'm keep getting beat out by the dentist. Well, now the dentist is on page 3, bless his heart. And, if you Google the way most media introduce me as Dr. Todd Thomas, you'll find, all of these video clips, YouTube clips, articles, all of these things, really bring it to the top of mind. So this person who called me clicked on an interview that I did months ago and was talking about my style and, all of this. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out, immediately where we were talking about. And that's just the joy of getting it out there because, on the what is it they say? I mean, on the Internet, it lives forever.
Yes, it really does.
It's really a great thing.
Well, our philosophy, and you listen to many of our teleseminars, is to be everywhere at all times. The key to success, be everywhere at all times. You never know where your next big opportunity is going to come from. So the idea is to be using all the traditional media, all the social media that you can use. Why not use it all? Why not stack the deck in your favor? And that's what we teach here and recommend here at Annie Jennings PR. And behind every publicity strategy we offer is a strategy to empower the author and expert and allow everyone to go out there and make a boatload of money while they're sharing their messages. You see, we're entrepreneurs here. We understand you need money. You have children, responsibilities, and nothing goes away, believe me. It only gets more and more expensive to raise these kids and everything, right?
That's correct.
So, as a mother of 5, I get that, and I really want to empower my authors and experts because I see what happens. When you're a responsible business person and you're able to take care of your employees, your children, your responsibilities, you're happy, and you're contributing more to society than ever. And your kids are growing up strong and healthy. Your employees are performing beautifully for you. It is a win-win when you're out there applying your knowledge and credentials and skill set to the news of the day, landing these media placements, applying them to your business model, and getting all the clients.
Right.
We love it. I love it because I'm empowering you to lead a better life, and everyone around you is touched by that. So when we start,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just about to then go back on about how we get you started. You started to tie into the breaking news of the day. All right. So
no, I was going to say that the original article, which was a result, I filled out the questionnaire that you provide that said, here are my areas of expertise. I got a call about the article. I said, sure. And I just want to comment, even on the model of the way Annie Jennings PR does business, because I've had the opportunity, and I've noticed in your emails and in your video or audios recently, there are lots of different models as to how to do this kind of thing. In my case, and I think in your client's case, it always starts with, here's the opportunity, here's what we need, this is why we think you'd be good for it. This is roughly what it's going to cost you, so that you can make that kind of judgment. And in this case, it was, practically nothing, and for a PR firm, especially.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, I just had the opportunity, by the way. I had the opportunity with and I live near a metropolitan city, and through various contacts, one of the PR companies here contacted me recently and told me that, in all seriousness, a $20,000 retainer that would cover, I think it was 8 months, that they could really do some great things. And I said, okay, so, in the 8 months, what happens if I'm not satisfied or if we haven't really done anything. And their response was sort of, oh no, we always do great things. And finally I said, I would much rather be able to make that decision as we go. And I love your what I call the pay for play model, that in fact, you were commenting about having to pay for the kids and all of this. The nice thing about the model that you guys work under is the business person, the person who's trying to develop their business, ought to be the person in control of the budget.
Good point.
Yeah, and so, I never wonder what my investment is going to be if it's a small, in fact, I think one of my articles ended up in some tiny magazine in southern Canada, or international TV media, and that's something I truly appreciate. And I think folks listening or considering working with your group, that's a key element to me. You pick the budget, and even if it's one thing this month and something else next month, I mean, that's really, I truly appreciate that flexibility.
That's right. You can tell us, and we won't get mad at you if you want to skip a month. I mean, the nice part about it is we want you to be happy and successful, and we have a model that really speaks to those intentions, of our intentions, and we want you to be as strong and influential as possible. In fact, small media, many times we offer it as value added because, you know what, we specialize in booking the major media. That's our expertise. We can walk Todd Thomas through any door right now, proudly. I would walk him through any single door. That's how good he is, and that's what we do here. We work with the major media. And I feel that's important because this has led to so many opportunities for you. By moving into our strategy, which is applying your knowledge, credentials, your wisdom, your credibility to the issues of the day. Remember, media is not going to change their format for us. We have to adjust and adapt to what they want to cover anyway. Right?
Correct. And I think that's, again, and I don't think you ever have ever, in my experience, said, you sit back, we'll do all the work. I think, if someone's going to be successful, I was never, I was a news hound, but I was never what I would call a political hound. I mean, I never paid particular attention to it. And it became clear pretty soon that, when it comes to a topic like leadership, if you want to be available, you need to stay on top of what's going on. And so, now I'm much more up to speed, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, conscious of the news around you. Right.
Right, and ready. So if you get that call, and the first couple of calls, I was sort of stunned that I was being asked, and through the coaching of your folks, which, by the way, one interesting thing, it seems that all of your key staff members have a name that begins with S. I don't know what that's about, but
yeah, we've noticed S is a very powerful name, and also is D, or actually the word the name Deborah. If you were to figure out how many people were named Deborah that were really strong, any client that comes through the door with the name Deborah, we immediately know they're going to be an amazing client. Deborah it's amazing. It's really strong. And yeah, my staff has a lot of S's.
I actually asked Sarah one time if Sarah, Stacy, and Susan were actually the same person, or did it just happen that they all started that way? But they're all great people, and it's been a really great thing. I think I diverted you from the direction you were going in that discussion.
It's no problem, but we tied you into the leadership issues in the news because leadership experts and all experts are asked to apply their knowledge to the issues of the day. Theory is one thing, but theory does not get on TV or get covered in the media. Actual commentary about the issues of the day, that's what gets covered. This creates journalism in all forms. So we put you in on Bernie Madoff, what happened there, the Rod Blagojevich situation, and even the ship captain held by the pirates. You were mentioning that Neil Cavuto said, so tell me, Todd, what can businesses learn from the way that the ship captain, who was held by pirates, dealt with his situation? What are the leadership skills?
And let me just tell you, by the way, that if anybody goes out and searches, and I welcome them to do it if they want to see what these interviews look like, because they're out there, what Neil Cavuto actually said was, we're honored to have an international expert, and I'm just curious, Todd, with your background and your tremendous knowledge and application of leadership, what can we learn from the ship captain and his pirate thing? And I thought, man, Neil Cavuto goes on my Christmas list for next year.
Well, yes, and here's what, yes, he's positioned you as one of the top experts in the entire world.
Right. And the very first time that I interviewed with him, it was the same kind of thing over the Rod Blagojevich situation where, it's in the media's best interest to position you as an expert. And so, if you give them some material to do that with, and then you remember it's their show and not yours, they call you back. I mean, in fact, that time on Cavuto, had you never seen me before, you would have thought that I was a monthly guest. I mean, just the way he talked to me, the way he referenced me. But that's in his best interest. It's not just being a nice guy. I mean, that's the way the media works.
Yeah, and he couldn't really do that, though, unless you had the proof, because in order for us to get you on the show, we have to answer the question, prove it to us that he deserves the spot. Now, you don't know this. You don't know this is going on in the background, that Sarah has gathered all the information she needs to answer the question, prove it. We've built a case for you. Now, people don't know that. They think, oh, it's so easy to get booked. It is, well, for us it's easy because we understand exactly how to position and package our clients so that they do get the yes. But remember, the producer, imagine if they booked somebody who couldn't handle the answer to that question. And then what would happen? The producer would be in a huge amount of trouble. The publicist would never work with that outlet again, or any other outlet where that producer was able to just sort of talk about what happened today. It's very serious that you're ready to go on these big media outlets. Hence our ladder strategy, Todd, which is the building up of an expert, and we put you in it as well. Building up of an expert so that they can rise to the top as quickly as possible, given their credentials, experience, and personal talent level and knowledge of the news and willingness to be in the strategy. You went very quickly up the ladder, but you see, we couldn't just jump you into those major placements without knowing everything was going to be perfect.
Right, and I think part of the thing about the relationship with you guys is that there's an honesty factor. One of my topics is integrity to begin with, and I do remember one situation where Sarah called and said, I think this is a great thing, send me some points, and then she called and a little bit later, and very candidly, it was no criticism on me, but it was an important point. She said, you know what, they needed someone that could speak directly from a specific perspective, and I just didn't feel comfortable trying to position you as having that perspective. Well, that's great, because the last thing you want is to be on CNBC and have somebody ask you a question based on experience that you don't actually have. And, I truly, I know if she makes a placement for me, that she's put her name out there and she's 100% confident that, I'm bringing what they're looking for. And then I get some coaching from her about, how it works, who it is, all of this. And so I would much rather somebody say, hey, you know what, we ran this one, and in the end we decided it wouldn't be good for you or them, but we've got your stuff, we'll keep running it. And I love that. I think that's the way we have to work together.
Exactly. Well, we got your back. And that was another part of the benefits that you felt, is that you really felt that we were in a partnership model. And I like that you said that, because you also mentioned that you felt that didn't really exist with other business models in publicity. Would you like to just expand about how you like that business model where we were in it together? You're meeting us 50%. There's no question. And then we're meeting you the other 50% because we know the outlets, we know the news, we know the positioning, and we know your talent and skill set.
Well, I think that in some models, and I can speak quite knowledgeably from, say, the Speakers Bureau, Speakers Agent kind of model, which is not totally dissimilar. It's for a specific area. And lots of times, you're the sexy love object for the initial couple of months, and then somebody new comes along. You've paid your fees. You're hooked for the next year. They're not going to make anything more from you than they've made so far, until the end of the year. and you just get the feeling that somehow you move down the list. And, I honestly have never had that feeling. And I think the example that I gave you about the partnership, which is very important to me, is, there have been a couple of times where I have, through my blog or whatever, developed an idea that I thought, this could have some legs. And I've been the one who called and said, hey, and of course, like we said, I work mostly with Sarah and Susan because of what I do. Hey, this is what I'm thinking of. For example, I'm doing a report right now on leading organizational survivors, people who left behind after the layoff. And so I sent a note to Sarah and I said, hey, this is a topic that I'm starting to develop. Here are some of the key ideas around it. I just want to toss it out for you to think about. And, now she knows that's something that I'm interested and can speak on, so she doesn't have to wait for a call. She can also go out and get a call.
Of course.
Working together like that is important. And if I can just quickly add one other thing to a point you said earlier, there's a level of authenticity. I think I told you before, I've been on media now that would be considered far left and far right, and I'm neither of the two. And one of the things that I know because of my experience with the interviewer is that you guys have never pitched me as being one way or the other. In fact, in the Bernie Madoff situation, it was clear I was as appalled as anybody else, but my political point of view was a lot more center than any of the media tend to go, and they knew that going in. There was no pressure for me to be complaining about one thing or
right, exactly. Yeah, we didn't put words in your mouth. I think that's an important aspect to consider.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we let our experts be who they are because that's what we want. We want you to be strong and powerful in your own message. That's how change is truly made, is when you're working in your personal strength. And if you don't have integrity to your message and to yourself, well, how long are you going to last out there in the business world, Todd? You tell me.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've been sold as a staunch conservative,
right,
and you're live on the air and you go, the other direction, again, that doesn't do anybody any good. So,
it's not going to help you in your reputation because one of the things with appearing on these major shows and in this major media is now you are showcased to people who can hire you. Everybody wants to hire, the top people in their field because they're a good investment. There's no risk.
Right.
And if you're going one way or another, different interviews, you're going to be conservative, then liberal. Who are you and what do you really stand for? It's confusing.
Right.
So it's better to, I say it's better to be middle of the road unless you're a politician, because there's 2 points of view, and there's two sides to every story. So it's good to just come from where you really are in your messaging, one way or the other, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that for people who are looking for PR, it is important that you have a point of view, because they don't want someone that's simply going to say yes, maybe, along the way. But being clear about that point of view gives your PR partner the ability to say, hey, if you have this guy on, and you believe that, I don't know, the world's turning into socialist society, he's not going to say that's what he believes. So,
Yeah.
But most media want that too. Like I said, I think in the same week, I spoke on a fairly liberal platform and on a fairly conservative platform, both from the point of view of maybe there's more options. And that works real well for me because that's kind of where I come from.
Well, good, and I like that too. I agree with that. You mentioned that, the video, you have some demos now up on your site. And one thing you mentioned to me is, you're getting to the point where you do have all the demos. You're going to keep them all up there because just having them is impressive. That you're finding people don't even have to click on them. They just, look at them and they already know you're good.
Right. Actually, here's a test. When you introduced me in this call, you introduced me as a global leadership columnist for TheStreet.com. My guess is 90% of the people who heard that somewhere in their head went, oh, okay, well, this guy's really, doing it. And out of that 90%, maybe 4% actually read the street. And of the 4%, probably some small number may have stumbled across me. For PR purposes, it's not so important that people are seeing you and reading you every day. It's the credential. Mm-hmm. And one of the great things, in fact, I just now, where I'm sitting right now, is on a graduate campus because I've been asked to do an 8-week lecture series with this campus. And part of, I have an academic degree, but part of what really got their interest was this ongoing, exposure through thestreet.com
sure.
and all of this.
The columnist opportunity, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they read it. It's a credential, and for me, with I have more degrees than a thermometer. I mean that from an academic standpoint, that's good. But from a real-world standpoint, these other kinds of credentials are the ones that are most important, and you'll have those forever. I will always be able to either say I am a columnist or I was a columnist for thestreet.com.
And the nice thing about that is also, and that actually grew from one of our opportunities. Either you sent us an article that you had written and we did something with it, or a topic that we developed for you, given your talking points, and presented them to that particular outlet. And then we were able to expand the opportunity because we spotted it. You see,
right.
We're only paid for results, Todd. So
right.
What are we on the lookout for? We're hunters. We are aggressive hunters here. We're alphas.
and I need hunters. I need people who are out hunting. That's for
We're
sure.
hunting. And so we're looking at this and we're saying, how do we expand this? Wouldn't it be wonderful if he could be a regular contributor? How do we present that opportunity and allow that to be approved by the outlet? We do that too. Yeah, we're always looking for more.
This was a great example, actually, because the first part was I was called. There was a reporter who wanted a quote from me, and in fact, if I can, if I'm not sharing too much, but we had already done some work. Sarah called, said, "Look, we're not going to charge you for this. This is just a reporter who wants to ask you, for a quote. No big deal.
Sure, it goes into the value
added. Are you interested? Yeah, it goes into the value added. So she called. I answered. End of discussion. Then I got a call saying, it was around a certain time, said, would you do an opinion piece? And I said yes. And then we started to move into the business relationship that we have, right? So Sarah said, well, we got this. And then from the opinion piece came a call, and again, she was very honest because she said, I didn't know if this was going to fly or not, but they are really interested in you writing a regular column. And, I would have never followed up from the quote to the opinion piece to the column. And, nor would I ever have a problem paying somebody to move. I mean, that's what the deal is. And it was just one step at a time. And it took your creativity and willingness to get out there and push, and there we are.
And what the nice part about it is, too, is that you're so easy to work with that we knew you would be interested. Now, here is something that the listeners should be aware of, is that if you really want to be successful, be very easy to work with. Make sure that your publicist knows that you are ready to go for just about any high-quality opportunity. Notice we didn't have to go back and present, the whole, here we want to go to an opinion piece, we want to go to a column, because what happens if, and then, Todd, you were never this way. What happens if they say, well, tell me about what's in it for me? No, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to get any readers. I don't think they're going to link back to my site. I don't think. Well, they've lost everything, because people reading thisstreet.com, they have called him for opportunities. All right, so we have so many success stories from this. And one thing knowing is we knew we didn't have to get into a conversation with somebody who was resistant to success. Todd embraced every single moment of it, and that made us extremely willing to just keep going, to just keep asking and going and pushing forward, because we didn't have to go back and forth and keep asking permission, because we knew where he wanted to go, and we could move fast.
And that again, is an issue of being honest. I want to say to people who are looking at how PR fits, that they have to remember, I don't have to be I don't have to be twice as good as my competition when people are considering who do we have come speak or who do we have coach or whatever. I just need to have that one piece that keeps me a little bit ahead. And, I don't, none of, sometimes people, you read stories, and you've had that experience, Annie, with some of your clients where the stars aligned, they had one big hit, and from that, things just, blew up. That's wonderful if it happens. But for most of us, we just need that little competitive edge that gets, so that the committee doesn't sit there and say, well, I wonder if this guy's legit.
Right.
They know I'm legit. Then the next question is he the right person? And that's fine. And by the way, and I don't know what kind of records that you keep, but I've also said no a few times because I knew my schedule wasn't right, or for some other reason I knew I wasn't going to be able to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important for people to understand. It's not that you have to stand by the phone every second. If you get a call and they say, hey, are you available? And sometimes it's this afternoon, no, I'm not is a perfectly fine answer. It's just an issue of being honest and doing it. So we've done that a few times too. I've turned down some things that may have been, great in the long run, but just weren't possible for me to do. And I think probably every week, I have some exchange with your office, either about something going on or, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Because we really always just want to be working within your particular guidelines. So what we do is we clear the media in advance, and we know your goals and objectives. And then, if it works for you, terrific. If not, no worries.
Right.
We're very easy to work with. I think you've done a lot of media with us. I mean, you really have you've probably created a tremendous competitive advantage. Do you feel that you do have the competitive advantage now and maybe have beaten out some of your other competitors at this point?
Actually, I know of a couple. In fact, I've been traveling a lot this week.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of the major sort of projects in the last week or so for me never got beyond looking at me. And,
You mean they hired you right off the bat?
Right. And,
That's what we want, guys.
Right. I'm ego-driven enough to say it's because I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, but, in one case in particular, I made the comment in my meeting. I said, this is a topic that I recently wrote about in the street, and one of the guys sitting at the table said, actually, I saw your interview on this.
Wow.
And it always surprises me when that happens, because they're out there and you see the number of hits and stuff. But still, when somebody says, I saw your interview, and then okay, I don't have any other competitors in this particular niche of my market that are going to say, go online and check me out.
I wrote about that on the street. Yeah, and then the person sitting there able to hire you just happened to see the interview. You see, the people who do follow the interviews and read these various outlets that are within your industry, they are in a position to hire you.
Right.
And that's the key thing. Mm-hmm.
And in case people think we're talking about, how great it was to get one media hit, I was looking at this just in the last couple of days. Since we've started working together, I have done interviews on probably 20 radio stations. I've published articles in at least a dozen or more publications. I've had 4 or 5 national television interviews. It's not, we mention the street because it's such a big one. But some of these folks, they don't read the street. They get the corporate magazine that they get. And the one you were talking about, by the way, they were supposed to run that article one time at the beginning of their catalog, at the beginning of their magazine, and they kept running it. They ran it for like 2 or 3 months. And, the interesting thing for me is that they all have varying degrees of interest in the rights to the article. Most of them, so far, have said, we want the first publication rights, and then we don't care.
Yeah.
So I'm able to use that material in other ways if I want and still stay within the guidelines of, the agreement. it's just really been a great thing.
Well, that's wonderful, and I think we should wrap about there. I mean, Todd, would you like to tell people your website, where they can reach you? They can become part of your community if you like.
Absolutely. Yeah, my website is probably the easiest. I'm like everyone else. I have different niches, but the easiest one to remember is drtoddthomas.com. And, you can go there. You can see the kinds of things that I do. I have a newsletter. And very often, I try to leverage things. So what I write in my blogs and my newsletter, often I send to Annie Jennings and say, hey, this is getting some traction in my little audience. Maybe there's something else out there. I'm more than happy to. The other thing, and you didn't ask me to do this, but I actually have had somebody do it. I'm on LinkedIn and all these other places. If somebody listening wants to send me a note, they can send it to Todd at drtoddthomas.com. And feel free to send me a note and say, hey, I'm thinking about it. Here's what my concern is. What's been your experience? And I'll be more than happy to be honest about it and let you know how I've made it work. I have no problems with that.
Well, thank you. Wonderful. Your contribution to our audience is tremendous, and we're so thankful to have you on, Todd. Thank you so much for sharing your story. One thing we noticed, too, is that our experts are amazing. The ones that do the best are the ones that are willing to give back, share, and just meet us halfway everywhere we go. And this is an example of Todd willing to give back to all those people out there who want what he has, what he's worked for. But it wasn't even that hard, was it? It was kind of fun, wasn't it, Todd?
It's been a blast.
It's been a blast.
Every time I see on my phone or in my email, I see that I have a note from you guys. I'm just anxious to open it to see what's next.
See what's next. I love it. Here's the thing: it's fun. It's fun to work with us. Everybody who knows us, Todd, you've been on many teleseminars. We're working in our passion. Our mission statement is for the betterment of all. It is so much fun for me to see you successful. That does it for me, and that does it for all of us here. So imagine being able to work with somebody whose only reason, the sole mission in my work is to allow you your chance in society and making change and being successful and making a lot of money for yourself.
Well,
that's why we're here.
If that's not the kind of person that your listeners want to partner with, then they need to be thinking about what's important.
That's right, because this is why we're here. It's my mission statement, and we're so proud because through you we can help so many people. So I want to thank Todd Thomas for being with us today, and that's drtoddthomas.com. Feel free to become a member of his community by signing up for his newsletter, and you'll get his weekly Leadership Matters newsletter, which would be very nice to follow his progress as well.
Well, thank you.
It's been my pleasure, and thank you so much, Todd. Until we meet again.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye for now.